Hey there, awesome game developers! Welcome back to our channel. Today, we're going to explore something really cool: how things move and interact in our games using Unity's physics system. We'll learn about a special component called Rigidbody, colliders, and even how to make objects go boom. Let's dive right in. Unity's physics system allows us to create realistic movements and interactions within our games. It's based on the laws of physics, providing a dynamic and immersive experience for players. In Unity, we have two primary components that enable physics simulations: Rigidbody and collider. In other words, Unity's physics system helps us to make things in our games move and behave just like they do in real life. It's like magic. We have two important things in Unity that makes this happen: the Rigidbody and colliders. The rigid body is like the brain of an object. It's responsible for making things move around. It gives objects special properties like how heavy they feel, whether they fall down or not, and even how they slow down when going through the air. Adding a rigid body to an object is as easy as clicking on the object, going to the Add Component menu, and then selecting Rigid Body. Now, the other thing was colliders. What are colliders? Colliders help objects interact with each other. They give objects special shape or boundary, like a bubble or a box. With colliders, we can make objects bounce off each other, go through walls, or even make them explode. To add a collider to an object, we can simply click on the object, go to the Add Component menu, and then pick the collider shape we want. Now, let's learn how to make things move by applying forces. Forces are like pushes or pulls that make things go in different directions. We can use forces to make a ball roll, a character jump, or even a spaceship fly. In Unity, we use the rigid body's add force magic trick. We can tell it which way to push and how hard. It's really awesome. If you're ready, let's jump into Unity and try this out ourselves. I've created a simple scene with a ball and some obstacles. We'll use forces to make the ball move and see how it interacts with the obstacles. It's going to be epic. Colliders and rigid bodies work together to create realistic interactions between objects in a game. When two colliders collide, they can make things happen, like objects bouncing off each other or triggering events. The rigid body component is responsible for making the object move and respond to forces when the colliders interact. For example, if a ball with a rigid body collides with a wall collider, it might bounce off the wall or change its position. So to sum it up, colliders help objects interact with each other by creating invisible boundaries or shapes, while rigid bodies give objects their physical properties and make them move and respond to forces. They work together to create realistic and fun gameplay experiences in both 2D and 3D games. So these are the stages that we're supposed to do to try out the physics system in Unity with a ball on some obstacle. First, you have to open the Unity on your computer and create a new project, or you can also open an existing one where you want to work on it. In the next step, you have to set up the scene. In Unity, a scene is like a level or a place where your game takes place. Create a new scene or open an existing one. The next step is going to be placing the objects. In the scene that you have created, you'll need to place a ball and some obstacles. To do this, right-click in the hierarchy and then go under 3D objects and then choose cube, sphere, capsule, anything that you want to create your ball, and then do the same thing for creating the obstacles. Now it's time to add the rigid body component. Select the ball object in the scene by clicking on it. In the inspector panel on the right side of the Unity editor, click on the Add Component button. In the search bar, type rigid body and select the rigid body component from the options that appear. This adds the rigid body component to the ball, which will allow it to be affected by physics forces.
Now it's time to set up colliders. To make the ball and obstacles interact with each other, they need colliders. As you can see, Unity automatically generates the 3D object with the specified collider, but you can go on the Add Component button and then you can change the collider and then select the desired collider shape. For example, sphere collider or box collider, that's all up to you. Now, it's time to write the code. In order to apply forces to the ball, we'll need to write a script. Let's just create a new C# script in Unity and then attach it to the ball object. Inside this script, we're going to write the codes that applies forces to the rigid body component of the ball. In this script, we have a ball movement class that you can attach to the ball object in your Unity scene. The force magnitude variable allows you to control the magnitude of the force applied to the ball. In the start function, we get a reference to the rigid body component attached to the ball object using getComponentRigidBody. In the update function, we check for a specific input key, in this case, the spacebar, using input.getKeyDown, keycode, space. When the spacebar is pressed, we generate a random force direction using random.range to get a random value between -1 and 1 in the x and z axes. The normalized function ensures that the force direction remains consistent regardless of the magnitude. When then multiply this force direction by the force magnitude and apply it to the ball using rb.addForce with forceMove.impulse. This code will make the ball move in a random direction with a magnitude specified by force magnitude when the spacebar is pressed. We go back to Unity scene, and now we can adjust the force magnitude value to control the strength of the applied force.
Now that the coding is over, let's just test and observe. Simply, we go back to Unity Editor and then we press the play button. Watch as the ball responds to the forces applied and interacts with the obstacles you placed. Observe how the physics system behaves and adjust the forces or objects as needed to achieve the desired effects. Great job, game developers! You've learned the fundamentals of Unity's physics system. We covered rigid body components, colliders, and applying forces to the object. With these tools, you can create realistic physics-based simulations and interactions within your games. I hope you find this tutorial helpful. Stay tuned for more Unity tutorials on this channel, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your comments below. Until next time, happy game development!